On this week's show, what exactly is a lease option agreement and how do you secure one?
In the news, we discover how estate agents are misleading their clients into paying higher commissions, and we show you tips on how to avoid this.
And we'll also be answering your property-related questions. Welcome to the Property Investors Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an upload. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and YouTube. Enjoy this week's show and don't forget to share it with all your friends. Hi, I'm Russell Leeds.
I'm Alistair Cunningham.
And welcome to this week's episode of the Property Investors Podcast. It's going to be a good show this week.
I'm looking
forward to delving into the lease options.
Yep.
The estate agent news story.
That's bad,
crazy.
isn't it?
I know. It's good. I'm looking forward to getting into that. But before we get started, what have you been up to this week? Highlight of the week, go.
Highlight of the week. Okay, so we went on a team building exercise and we went go-karting.
Did you win?
No.
Did you not?
No.
Didn't you used to be a driver? You've driven with Lewis Hamilton and stuff?
No. Not driven with Lewis Hamilton. No, I done karting for like 12 years and I was pretty good.
Didn't you? I thought you drove I thought you drove in the same team as him.
No.
Did you just tell me that when we were out one night just to show off?
No.
Tell me about Lewis Hamilton.
Okay, no, he used to race at the same circuit that I used to go to, yeah. At Rye House in Hoddesdon.
But he wasn't there at the same time?
Yes.
So you have raced with him then?
No, I've not raced with him. We're different races, but he was at the same venue. When he was karting, 10 years, when he was kart racing, maybe 12, 13 years ago.
Okay.
Nice
So
guy.
it's just like me saying that I live in the same country as him?
Pretty much.
So it's not very impressive at all?
But it's like we're in the same vicinity.
But okay, so you've just been near Lewis Hamilton?
Yeah.
That's it?
I think he credits me for some of his talent.
Okay. It's not quite as
really.
impressive. He's just been in the vicinity of Lewis Hamilton.
Pretty much.
Suddenly nowhere near as
But
close.
interestingly, it was quite fun karting all night. You missed out because you were not a team player.
No, I didn't come.
Nah, you were not very well, but it was very fun. Nick came.
I wasn't unwell, I just didn't want to come.
Nick was quite quick, you know.
Was I?
He's not quick at setting up the cameras, but he was quick at karting.
Did he beat you?
He didn't actually, no.
So he wasn't that quick.
He's still quite quick.
Who won?
Glenn.
Really?
Yes.
He's a bit of a dark horse, that Glenn, isn't he?
Well, Glenn, right, after the first race, he come out and he said, Alistair, he goes, I need some help. He goes, can you help me? So I gave him a little bit of advice on what he was doing wrong. And then he went out and he just completely ignored all the warning flags. There was a big crash. I think Samuel caused a bit of a pile up. And Glenn was just drove through everybody, just kept going when everyone else stopped. And he won by about a lap.
Wow.
It was quite funny.
Okay, awesome. So, lease option.
What have you been up to?
What have I been up to? I've just been working. I haven't particularly done anything exciting, to be honest. It's just been non-stop work. But it's good. It's good. But I knew you'd been karting, so I thought you'd have won. I'm shocked you didn't win. That does shock me.
I was fastest, but because I obeyed the rules. And
just been working and drinking classy coffee.
McCafe.
Nothing beats McDonald's coffee, as you can say. Sorry, so lease options.
Yep.
Let
me just get that.
It's just
I just turned it off.
How
sorry.
Unprofessional.
My mistake.
How unprofessional. Before I criticise too much, let me just double check. Yeah, mine is on silent. How unprofessional. So lease option agreements.
Yes.
Someone asked me to sum up what a lease option was in 20 seconds the other day. And this is the way I described it.
Yep.
Okay, so when you buy a car on HP, you take ownership of the car, but then you don't buy it for a few years, and you've got the option to either give it them back or you can keep it.
Yep.
A lease option is the same, but with a house.
Exactly.
So you take ownership of the house, you've got the option to buy it in a few years, but if you don't want it, you can just give them the house back.
Yep.
So
exactly. It's actually a very good sum up.
Yeah.
So moving on.
So that's it. That's what a lease option is. Okay, so that's what a lease option is. So we thought we would talk a little bit about how you actually go and get one of these. Because it's all well and good knowing that the problem is that you can't go to with a car it's easy. You go to a garage and they're like, yeah, we do HP. Whereas you can't go to an estate agent and go, can you give me a lease option, please? I want that house. I want to pay for it later.
Interestingly, most estate agents don't know what this is. Mm-hmm. They have no idea what lease options are. They've never heard of them. They have no idea about the concept. You can get them through lease option, through estate agents. You can get lease options through estate agents. I've done it. It's a lot harder because you have to... I say this a lot, property is a people's business. Once you get to know the person at the estate agents, then the deals will come. So I've secured a lease option through an estate agent and I've just paid them their fee so they're not missing out. So you definitely can do it. By far, the easiest way to do it is direct to vendor. But then again, most sort of everyday sort of vendors don't really know what lease options are. And mostly, when you first broach the subject, their guard goes up. They're like this, like, no way, it sounds dangerous. I've never heard of it. It's probably a scam or a con. In reality, we just have to sort of take a step back.
Do you think partly that's the way that you explain it? Do you think if you explained it as simply as high purchase, they might be like, okay,
maybe
it kind of makes sense.
I think a lot of people are programmed to have their guard up straight away, and they just think because they don't understand it or know it, they switch off from it very, very early on. So I know Samuel teaches when we're securing lease options, you never secure them on the day. You never secure them there and then. You always give the vendor plenty of time, and you always advise them to go and speak to the solicitor. So they know the legal aspect of it. It's not just a case of saying, yeah, let's just have a little handwritten contract whipped up. I'm gonna take control of your house and just pay you for it in 5 years if I want to. It's not like that.
Yeah.
The process is just like buying a house. It can take 3 months. It's not a 5-minute process.
Yeah, makes sense. I think that the solicitor part is key.
100%.
Okay, why do you think it's so key?
Because it's the legal aspect. Because 2 reasons. First reason, 1, you want to make sure that the vendor's protected.
Yeah.
And that they know their legal standpoint. You don't want them going into a deal not knowing what they're getting involved in.
Yeah.
You want them to know the full in and outs of the legal side of it. And secondly, if in 5 years' time that property value goes up, and you've agreed to say, let's just say, my example, I've got a property on lease option that I've got secured for £82,000 in 5 years' time. Now, it's already worth around about that. So in 5 years' time, let's just say it's worth £110,000 or £120,000. The last thing I want is the vendor then saying to me, actually, I'm not going to sell it to you because it's now gone up by £30,000. Because at the minute, and for the last 3 or 4 years, they've been desperate to get out of this house. So they cannot have it both their own ways. They can't we can't come along and help them now and relieve them of that pressure and situation for them to say, thanks very much for sorting it all out for me, but also going to have this. There's got to be benefit for both people. So what I recommend whenever you're doing a lease option is it's got to be good for both parties. So this example I've just shared with you, in 5 years' time, there's a profit share in it. So the vendor gets a profit share on it. I'm not going to go into details, but they do get a profit share. So if there's an uplift,
I'm guessing it's a little profit share.
No, it's enough that they're happy.
Okay.
It's 30%. So if whatever the uplift is, I'll pay 30% of that.
So if it goes up 100 grand, they get 30 grand. If it goes up 10 grand, they get 3 grand.
Yeah, but.
And what are you going to do? You're going to remortgage it to give them that money, or how's it
I'll work out that when we get to that point. But they will get that money. I'll buy that house off them for 30% higher than. So I can buy for 82 grand. If it's gone up to 100, that difference they'll be getting it.
30 grand, so 30% is like 10.
Yeah.
Ish.
And
8,
the reason we've done that, and the reason they're happy with that, is because I've spent a considerable amount of money on the property. So if I do pull out that property, I've refurbed their property for them. Yeah. So for them,
it's a good deal.
It's a good deal for them. They've got out of a situation that they were in a bad situation. The property was not rented out for 8 months. I've taken the property on. I've done all the work, damp work. I've done everything, which cost just under £10,000. Mm-hmm. They couldn't afford to do it. Yeah, they were paying a mortgage amount every month that they couldn't afford. I've relieved them of all of that. I've invested in the property. Yeah, and then I'm going to buy it off them in 5 years, and I'm going to give them a percentage of the uplift.
Wow, sounds like they got a great. Well, here you go. So let's go through it. Let's quickly finish the solicitor point, and then we'll go through it. Okay, so solicitor point. First of all, it protects them from you being dodgy or whatever. Mm-hmm. Secondly, it protects you because in 5 years' time, if they go, oh, this is the big one for us doing it, is it protects us, because if in 5 years' time they go, oh, I didn't realise what I was signing, it was like, well, you had a third, you had your own solicitor who legally represented you, so you did actually no. So that's important. So they're the main 2 reasons. But let's go through the steps, because any deal, whether it be a property deal, a business deal, any deal has got to be a win for both sides.
I think so, yeah.
And a lot of people say, why on earth? In fact, I saw someone post this today on the Facebook group. Why on earth would anyone want to do a lease option agreement?
I saw that.
You saw it as well? Yep. Okay. So let's go into that first. So why on earth would anyone want to do a lease option agreement? Like, when they could just sell it, okay, why would they
Can I give you a true life example?
Yeah.
My property. I've got one property, this £82,000 one, yeah? Right. They bought the property at the height of the boom, sort of 2006, 2007.
Yeah.
They actually bought it at the end of 2006. And they paid high, because that's when the property market was high. They paid top dollar for that property. The property crash happened. Property prices have gone down. They're stuck in a situation where they're negative equity considerably. They live.
Okay, just for anyone that doesn't know, negative
equity is where they owe more on the property than it's worth.
Yeah.
So, for instance, they have a mortgage of £90,000, but the true market value is only about £80,000. So they're in £10,000 negative equity.
So if they sell the property, they literally
lose money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the people that own this property, they're a lovely couple. They live down in East Sussex. They bought this property up north because they thought it was a nice, easy investment, cheap houses, because they're used to houses at £500,000, and they then rented it out. They didn't really do it properly, so they were not renting it out through an estate agent. They were renting it out by putting adverts in papers and just dealing with the tenants themselves. But they were trying to do that from afar, and they were not really interested in the property apart from going to see it every couple of years.
Difficult.
It was very difficult for them. The property got trashed. They ended up refurbing it. Then literally, they just locked the property up, and it sat empty for, I think it was 6 to 8 months. It was empty with no tenants for about a year and a half. And
they're just having to pay the mortgage every month. So they're making a loss on it.
They're making a loss. They're paying the mortgage and they're paying council tax as well. So I had to, with that property, what I had to do was, I actually went to view the property because it was advertised on Rightmove. It was a good deal, great location for a HMO. And I went to view it, and I put an offer in. The offer was accepted, but then they couldn't actually accept the offer. They accepted it, but they couldn't fulfill that. So what happened was they accepted it. We went through all the searches, done all that sort of stuff, and then we got notification by the agents, by our solicitors, that they pulled out. Now the reason they pulled out was because the mortgage company put a stop to them selling the house because they were in negative equity and they couldn't pay that balance off. So the mortgage company wanted to know how they were going to clear that balance before they would allow them to sell the house. So they had to pull out because they couldn't afford to pay that difference. So then I bit of a ninja sort of a research.
I love it when he refers to himself as a ninja. But yeah, go on.
Bit of ninja research and a bit of due diligence.
Yeah.
I managed to find the vendors. I managed to track the actual vendors down. And I went and met them. We got chatting. This works for them. And we ended up sitting down with a blank sheet of paper. What do you want? What do I want? What can we do?
Yeah.
Let's get this drawn up legally. Bang, let's get it done.
So the first thing you need people then who either can't sell their property now because they're in negative equity, so they can't sell it, or they can sell it now, but they, for whatever reason, don't need the money.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, they got it as an inheritance. I mean, they were just in no rush.
Prime
So
example,
someone that doesn't need or can't get access to the money from selling it. That's who you're looking for. So for these guys, for example, it's a win because they literally they don't want to look after this house anymore.
Yep.
They don't want to be landlords. 'Cause a lot of people don't want to be landlords.
No,
we look at it and go, just rent it out and just use an estate agent. But some people aren't wired like that, and they're just not interested. So if they don't want to be a landlord and they've got this house, whether it's been got it as an inheritance or whether they've bought it and then they just don't want to do it anymore,
No, they don't.
whatever it is.
It's amazing. Television puts people off a lot of things. Like a lot of these people just watch these nightmare programs on TV about tenants, and they just get put off of them, and they're not cut out for being landlords.
Yeah, which is fair. That's fine. It's not for
them. It's not for them.
Yeah. So you're looking for people like that, and then basically you're going to, because they will get more money in the long term, won't they?
They will. The agreement we've got with this property is because I'm renting it out as a HMO. I've converted it with their permission and the mortgage permission. It's going as a HMO. It's making a lot more money. I can afford to give them a little bit more money. So I'm not being greedy here. I'm not being greedy, and I'm not cutting them down. I'm actually paying a little bit more money every month to clear their negative equity a little bit as well. So I'm making
That sounds like it's being a bit greedy to me.
No, hold on. No. So I'm paying the mortgage, but I'm also giving them an extra £150 a month because that's going towards paying more off the mortgage. So they're overpaying on the mortgage at the minute. Just because that's what they wanted. The reason they wanted that is because they went to my solicitor, and the solicitor that was dealing with this advised them to do this. So the solicitor's there to protect them, not me.
And so it wasn't you being generous, you got forced into it.
No, I was trying to make it look good. But I was being generous because I didn't have to agree to it. So they went to the solicitor, and the solicitor said, look, I think you should ask them to pay more than just the mortgage, because then in 4 or 5 years, if I say I'm not going to buy it, at least they've benefited from me.
Point of view.
Because I get to benefit from the cash flow of this property.
How much are you making?
It's not massive. So it's good for essentially a no money down property.
Some of your others, like the LOA you've got in Wolverhampton, you're making about £1,000, aren't you?
Yeah, about 9-10. To the point, it's very. I know it's 900. It's fully tenanted. Yeah, about 910 quid after all the bills.
Just roughly 910.
Yeah.
Are you sure it's not 909?
No, I think it's 910.55 actually.
910.
No, it's about 910.
Just roughly.
Yeah.
Give or take a 50.
But it's again that's. I don't believe in luck. I believe in hard work pays off. Okay. I put a lot of effort into that property. I made it high end, and we're getting actually very good rents for that property. So I
remember working out the return on investment for you for that property.
Ridiculous.
It's like 1,000% or something. Yeah.
Yeah. But this first property that I'm referring to, it was a no money down deal to get the deal, apart from legal fees. Legal fees were £750. So I got the deal for low money down, not no money. 750 quid plus VAT for legal fees. That got me the house. I could have rented it as it was and made probably 100 quid a month cash flow. HMO. So I put about £8,000 or £9,000 into it to make it into a HMO. So I'm going to get much higher return. In the area, single lets are getting about 550. So I could have still made probably £100, £125 a month, and just let it run. And I didn't have to invest £8,000 into it.
But how long was it going to take you to get that 8,000? And then you'll be.
I want a property. I want HMOs. I want
2 years, and you'll make more money than if you just left it as it is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about investing. All of a property without actually having to buy it at the minute, and it lets you test the water. So if it doesn't work, for as long as it takes, I've added value to the property. And then I will give them my intent in 4 years' time. So in 4 years' time, I'll say to them either, yes, I'm going to. So my agreement with them is in 4 years' time, I will say, yeah, I'm going to buy it or not buy it. I can sell that property to an investor. Mm-hmm. So I might not pull out of it because let's just I haven't got the money for the deposit. Just hypothetically, okay? And the property's rent. What would I do with that situation? I could either then go back to the vendors and say, look, I'm going to pull out. There's the management company. On this date, the contracts will change from me to you, and you're going to benefit from the cash flow. Do you want to do that? If they say yes, then happy. Got cash flow and property. It's been refurbed. It's in good condition.
In many ways,
that's
a better deal for them.
That's a much better deal for them. But if they say no, we've done all the work. But if they say no, I'll say we don't want the property back. We want you to sell it. I can then market that to my list of investors because I deal with so many investors. Listen. One of my investors is buying that property. So, so for them. The original vendors, it's a done deal. They've sold the house. They've just not been paid for it yet. They'll get paid for it in 20.
But basically, what you're doing is you're taking away because you've got people in stressful situations. Yep. You're solving their problem.
Yes,
they can't sell the house. They don't want to manage it. They don't want to, and you're just solving it for them. And in the end, giving them money. It only works in certain situations. It only works when they don't need the money now.
Yeah.
But
What I will say with lease options, you see a lot of people advertising lease options as sourcers online on Facebook and things like that. I see this all the time. I actually saw it yesterday by a guy. Now he's got a lease option for sale up in the northeast. I think it was Gateshead somewhere. Now the property is it's laughable. Honestly, it's utter laughable. Right. Okay. So the current today's value, £60,000. Okay. He's got it secured on a lease option in 5 years for £72,000. Cash flow, nothing. The monthly payment to the vendor is £475. The rent is £475 to £500. So if at best he's going to get £25 a month positive cash flow. Do you know what his finder's fee for this property was?
What?
£16,000.
16,000.
I mean, what muppet would buy that? And more importantly, what muppet would try and sell that? Come on, man.
That's what, Nick, can you pull out that deal? It sounds like it wasn't a very good one.
It's rubbish. Who would even sell that as a deal? It's ridiculous. It's utter ridiculous. Who would buy it? Like, if you're going to put 16 grand into a lease option that's worth 60 grand, you can buy the thing now. And oh man, it gets so annoying. When you see these deal sources selling deals that just do not stack up, it's utter pathetic.
Yeah. So just because it's a lease option doesn't mean it's a good lease option.
No, just because it's lease option doesn't mean you should take it.
No. I suppose it's you want to be getting cash flow, don't you? You want to be getting cash flow out of it. Otherwise, people say, oh, it's a free house. Yeah, but it's not a free house because you don't own it. You only own it down the line when you pay for it. Yeah. So it isn't really a free house unless...
The thing is, if it's not cash flowing...
Then what's the point?
What's the point? If it's not cash flowing, how are you going to raise the money to buy it in 5 years' time?
Yeah.
Because property is expensive in the sense of that it's got running costs, it's got maintenance costs.
The only way it's a free house is if it cash flows so well that you can use the money from the house to buy it at the end. In which case, it really is a...
Do you know, like, all my lease options, do you know what I do with the money that comes in every month?
Just save it to buy them.
It does. I don't see it. I do not see it. It goes into a bank account that all my property stuff comes out. I've got each property's got a separate bank account, and it comes into the bank account and that pays the household bills. I don't see it, so it just builds up. So in 4 or 5 years' time, whenever it comes to buying these properties, there's a pot of money in each account for
you
each
buy
property.
it with its own
with its
the
own
money
money.
It's generated itself.
So in theory, it is a no money down deal because the money that I'm going to be using to buy that property in 5 years is funded by itself.
Yeah.
Obviously, some of the properties need a little bit of refurb, so I've had to put that money in
to begin with.
But I'll get that.
I'll get that
back.
To top it up slightly at the end.
But my refurb money, yes, I've had to invest that, so that's not that bit's not no money down. But I'll get that at the back end when I sell them or when I benefit from capital appreciation.
Yeah,
it's just property investing. And if you do it sensibly, it's very profitable. If you do it wrong, then.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. It's great. Okay, well, I hope you found that useful. That's a basic overview of what a lease option is, how it works, why it's a win-win, because it's important that it is a win-win.
It has to be win-win.
Otherwise, you're never going to get the deal. You need to, when you're going for these, you need to really understand that it is a win-win as well. So it's now time for this. So in the news this week, the Times have done a study on estate agents. And basically what they've found is that, and a lot of investors will probably know this anyway, but what they've found is that estate agents are commonly overvaluing properties. Yeah. And the reason they do this is because if you have 3 estate agents come and look at your home and one of them says it's worth 200 and we'll get 200 for it, and the other one says it's worth 160, you're going to go for the one that says 200. Right. But the thing is that the estate agents that are mostly overvaluing are the ones that charge higher percentage fees. So what's ending up happening is people are going with the expensive estate agents. It's not selling. They're dropping the price.
To what it's actually worth.
Yeah. It's selling, but then they've tricked you into going with them and therefore paying a higher fee.
It's very misleading, isn't it? So they're obviously doing it on purpose because it gets them it gets you the foot in the door, and then you're contracted to be there for X number of months.
Yeah. So there you go. So the Times analysis of Zoopla data found that homeowners who list their property with any of the 10 estate agents that overvalue them most would pay on average double the rate of commission charged by the 10 agents that valued the least.
Okay.
It also found that the largest estate agents were most likely to oversell sellers' properties, and the asking price on a third of properties was reduced by an average of 23,400.
Wow.
It's quite a jump, isn't it?
It's interesting because whenever like Samuel laughs about this from stage, when an estate agent sells, and you've, like, for instance, you've got your property on with an estate agent, and it's not selling, and then you ring them up and they say, yeah, but it's Easter. He's buying a house in the summer, and then you're constantly battering the price down.
Yeah.
And then it does sell eventually, but tell you that houses sell when they're valued at the right price. They do. So when you get houses that are
taking longer for the properties to sell.
Yeah.
Because obviously you're having to go through all the faff of having.
Let's go back to whole statistics about, is it a doom and gloom market? Like, everyone's saying it's doom and gloom market or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Because properties are sell, but they're taking ages to sell because they've been overpriced in the first place.
Probably.
If they were the market value, would they sell? Because let's face it, most people are going to be buying with a mortgage.
Yeah.
They're not buying cash. Most people are buying with a mortgage. So if the house is only worth 150,000, but the estate agent's trying to sell it for 160, he'll say it's only worth 150.
So 2 lessons,
and that just causes problems all the way down the chain.
Yeah, 2 lessons that I can think of from an investor's point of view. By the obvious lesson, don't be swayed by the estate agent that says that they can get the most for it.
Yeah.
And number 2, and this is a big one, we've talked about this before, but the market value.
No,
yeah, because it's not even studies have shown that it clearly they're valuing it for more than what it's actually worth.
Yeah, very true.
So you cannot take the asking price as the market. It isn't the market
it's
value.
like anything, isn't it? You can't become a motivated seller. So you don't want to be a motivated seller in any aspect. So, yeah.
But we're talking about buyers now, an investor buying.
Yeah, but the thing is, it comes back to a little bit too good to be true. So if you get 3 estate agents come to you, and you know roughly what your house is worth. I know roughly my house is worth like 320,000, something like that. If I get an estate agent come into me and 2 of them say, yeah, we can get you like 315, 320, 325, it's about right. If I get one come and say we get 340 for it, most people will go with that one that says 340, and they'll not really look into things like the percentage of what they're charging for the rate. They'll think, well, he's obviously more expensive because he's got investors that will buy it for higher amounts. I know what estate agents are like. They're all.
But we had some of our students, didn't we, come to us yesterday, and they showed us a property deal they'd got.
Yeah.
And they said valuation.
Yeah.
Valuation 175, but the agreed price 150, and we were like, where'd you get the valuation from?
Yeah.
The estate agent. Nowhere.
We looked into that, didn't we?
Yeah.
And there was nothing nearby, nothing in the last.
Estate agents' valuation is the key.
I think, and the thing is, right. Shows me, tells me, and proves to me. Yep. And most estate agents, it's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
And most estate agencies, there's normally about 10, 15 people. I would say most estate agencies, you've probably got 2 really good people. You've probably got 2 sort of really good, knowledgeable property experts. And the rest of them, not being disrespectful to estate agencies, but they're just selling properties. And their job is to work on commission to sell that property for as high as possible and get paid their commission. Mm-hmm. Most of them don't actually know what they're talking about. No. How many times have you been out to a viewing, the estate agents there, and they don't have a clue what you're talking about?
It's like on a podcast, for example, you've got one person that knows what they're talking about and one person hasn't got a clue what they're talking about. It's the same with everything.
You've always got one smart arse and one knowledgeable.
and one moron.
One smart arse.
One smart arse and one arse.
And one moron. Sorry, Nick. No, my point being, look, estate agents, they're not the experts that everyone thinks they are. They really aren't. No. They really aren't. Like, do you know, next time you're out looking at on a viewing, Like ask an estate agent what Article 4 is. Most of them don't know. They think it's a district in New York. They do. They don't know. It's ridiculous.
Okay.
And play games with them. Say, oh yeah, what about Article 40? Is that involved yet?
Article 40?
40, 14, 21, Article 36. Just ask if it's been enforced. And a lot of them will go, yeah. But they don't actually know what they're talking about. And I'm making it up just to play games with them. It's actually quite funny. You should do it.
See, I told you it was an arse.
It's funny. Like, for instance, another thing I like to do with mortgage brokers.
Mortgage brokers now?
Sorry, estate agents. Because sometimes you get two types of estate agents, right? You get the estate agent that basically just sits on their phone and says, yeah, have a look around, whatever. And they just play on the phone. And you get the other estate agent that walks you around like they're an expert, and they walk past the damp because they just say, oh yeah, it just needs a little lick of paint, or the things like that. They ignore all that sort of stuff, but they try and come across like they really know what they're talking about, and then they start talking about mortgage because they're trying to sell you their mortgage broker products and all that sort of stuff. And I always say, no, I'm fine. I've got like a really good mortgage broker, and I make up some random name. Like I'll say, like, yeah, I've got a mortgage broker. It's called ABC Finance. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I actually do know ABC Finance.
And they'll be like, yeah, we know them. And I'm like, well, how do you know them? I've just made it up. But I'm just playing games.
There is ABC Finance.
There probably is, but I say all sorts. Like I've said,
bad example, there, isn't it? Oh, I mean, let's just make something random. Have you
My
heard of
point
Kent Reliance? Yeah. No, they haven't made it up. Yeah, but there is one. So
my point being is they're not the experts that you think.
Why don't you say something stupid rather than ABC Finance? Why don't you say
that was just an example for the podcast. I've not said that in real life.
So what did you say? Why didn't you just say one that you said in real life?
I can't remember what it was.
Why didn't you just say one that you had said rather than making one up that actually does exist? It's such a bad example. It's like saying property investors. I don't know. Have you heard of Alistair Cunningham? And they go, yeah, I know him.
Oh,
he's the sidekick on the podcast, and he'll go, no, he isn't. I made him up, but it is actually true. So come up with a better one.
Trent Financial Services.
I bet that exists.
It doesn't.
Come up with something crazy.
But my point being...
See what you can get away with.
I will.
How about BS? BS. No one would have something like that.
What, BS Limited?
BS Limited. I've got
Interestingly.
I use BS Finance. Do you know them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of them. Really? Yeah. That is BS Finance. Yeah.
No, my point being, they're not the experts, I think. They really aren't. Most of them are just selling houses. They're just trying to sell houses this month because it's just a passing job for them, which is it's fine. I'm not criticising them, and in the sense I'm not belittling them in that way, but don't...
These bloody estate agents
but
just
they're
treating
not...
it like a job.
What they're not the property experts that they make out, some of them. Okay. So why would you trust a valuation on things?
Why would you?
I know so many estate agents, and do you know how they value stuff?
Go on.
What do you think they can sell it for? Literally, that is
how you value something.
No, it's not. You look at market comparables.
Yeah, but how you value something? Surely the value of something is what someone's prepared to pay for it.
Yes, there is. But for instance, I know lots of estate agents, and I ask them, how do you value properties? And they say, whatever we feel the most we can get for it. And I say, so you've got no computer system that you put it into and you work out comparables, you work out all that sort of stuff. They don't. They literally go, I think we can get 200 for that. And they just put it on. I say, well, what about nearbys? What about sold nearby?
But they'll do that because they'll know.
I don't think they do, mate.
They will because they'll know.
They'll have an idea in their head of what it's roughly worth.
Yeah.
But then this is where it comes back to this article.
Because they'll know the area. They'll know what other houses are sold for.
But this is where it comes back to this article. Where what
this is saying is they're
deliberately upping it. So they'll know that
so they'll think it's worth 200. They'll tell them 240.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they'll know the street value is at 180, 200, and they'll just say it's higher,
220.
Just to get us to say, yeah, you can sell my house. I'm going to sign the contract.
Correct.
Pay you the 3%, 2%.
Correct.
And then they'll drop it back down to it's criminal.
I like the way Harry's just explained the article that we've been talking about for the last. Thank you for that. That is very enlightening. It's now time for this. Plenty.
Rolling.
Are we going to do 2, 3? Let's do 3.
3 is good.
3 is a magic number.
Depends how long they are.
Well, let's just go with it, and then when.
See where we're at, if it's short.
We kind of need to know though, because otherwise it's that awkward. Should we do another one? No, let's end. Let's just. I'll tell you what. Let's do 2, and then I will either end it or I'll say to you, right, one more. Yeah, we just want to say. How long have we been going so far? About 35.
See, some of them are quite short answers, so I think we should do a bit more.
I think we should go quick. I like aiming for about 40 to 45.
Right,
so
fine.
7 minutes.
So there's 3 questions here that we can answer, and 2 of them are quite quick.
Okay.
There's 4 actually. 2 of them are very quick. 2 of them are a little bit longer.
Well, let's do a long one and a short one, and then we'll do a long one and a short one next week as well.
Right. But there's like 8 questions we have to get through for this.
Oh,
one.
there's 8. Okay,
Yeah.
let's do 3.
Right. Okay. Rolling.
Yeah, just wait for that cock out there.
Nino, you waiting for this cock in here?
Fucking no.
Although it is interesting. Did you get yourself on film saying that? I'm just waiting for that cock out there.
No, I said just wait for it.
Oh, okay.
You said
right.
I'm waiting
Are
for
ready
it. We got
to
you
go
on. I'm waiting.
Let's
for
go.
that
Come
cock.
on.
I'm
let's
pretty
go.
sure you did. You're gonna edit it out now, though.
Obviously.
Okay, so it's time for the questions of this week, and we have quite a few. So I'm going to kick it off.
Go on, kick it off, Al. Kick it off.
This is from Dan Bull, and it says, "Hey, I'm very new to property, so please excuse me if this sounds silly. Never sounds silly, Dan. In regards to rent-to-rent and lease options, what if the tenant stops paying the rent?"
So what's your question? What if?
So if the tenant stops paying, if the
tenant stops paying the rent, you kick him out and find a new tenant.
Yep. But you're still liable. Obviously, it's like a business. So if you take a property on a rent-to-rent basis, it's no different to renting a shop. If you rent a shop and you don't get any sales, you still got to pay the rent in the shop. If you rent a business premises, you've still got to pay the rent. So
It depends on what you're doing, because normally on a rent-to-rent, lease option maybe not, but a rent-to-rent is going to be HMO
Yep.
or service accommodation.
Yeah.
So service accommodation, they pay in advance.
Yep.
So you don't have to worry about that at all. HMO, you've got 4, 5 tenants typically. So if one of them stops paying, you should still be covering your bills, but you just need to kick them
The
out.
question is not silly, but the fact that you're saying rent-to-rent and lease options is irrelevant, because it's like it doesn't matter what strategy you're using to buy the property. Tenants are tenants. If they stop paying the rent, doesn't matter if it's rent-to-rent or if it's a buy-to-let.
If you're in control
stop paying
of it,
the rent, you need to go through the legal channels to chase that rent. You need to evict them. But ultimately, you're still responsible for covering the bills of that property because it's your property. So,
well, if you're getting an agent to manage it, they should sort of take care of that for you, really.
they'll take care of the legal aspect of it, but ultimately, it's still you that's paying the bills, so you still have to pay the bills.
Yeah, awesome. Good question.
Next, Alex Cunningham. Hey,
Like Cunningham, what on earth?
I've recently purchased both Alice's and Samuel's book. Alice's book is phenomenal. He didn't say that, I just made it up. My question for you both is, how do I start off in property, and what are the key points I need to know to get started? If you've just read my book and Samuel's book, that will cover a lot of it. I think the next thing you need to do is get yourself along to Property Investors bottom of this video.
If you're getting new into property, crash course.
You need the crash course.
It's the place to start.
I think absolutely get along to that. You've read both Samuel's book and my book. Russell's book is coming out soon. Read that as well. That'll be an
It's more
awesome
of a business book, but yeah, read it. Yeah, by all means.
100%.
Right, go on. Last one.
Next one. Last
one.
What I'm going to do 2. John Blade. My audio book is coming out very soon. Watch his space. And then final question.
Is it?
Yeah.
What happened with that? Because weren't you meant to be filming that?
Yeah. So what happened was the recording studio, I booked in at a certain time and the guy was still in bed when I arrived, which really annoyed me. So I told him to stick it, and I tried to find a new studio.
Please tell me you had to go back to the guy that was in bed after telling him to stick it.
No, I didn't. No. So I found another studio, but I only had a 2-hour slot, and I've only got halfway through it, and my schedule's been so busy that I've not had time to finish it. So
is it you reading it?
yes, it is. Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah. That's awkward, isn't it?
That is
right.
awkward.
Okay. Next question.
You'd have to rush that much. Can we just dwell on that for a second? You're reading it in your Scottish accent.
I'm gonna have to have subtitles.
You can't have subtitles on an audio book.
I know.
There is subtitles. It's called the actual book. They're gonna have to. They're gonna have
Just
to.
buy the
They're gonna have to read it alongside. They're gonna be listening to it, reading the book, going, "Oh, yeah, that's what he said. That's what he means."
Everyone keeps. I did say I wasn't going to read my book as audio.
You did, I know.
I said I was going to get somebody else to do it, but I've had
If
so many people message me.
If you
say,
want a good laugh, by the way, right, stick on the YouTube subtitles on this podcast.
yeah, I know, it's
because
funny.
it picks up me perfectly. Him, on the other hand,
It doesn't have a clue.
It's just like it just goes like this. This is what the subtitles does. It just goes. I don't know what he said. That's basically what happens. So
it is quite funny. Right, final question of today, and then we're going to have to.
There'll be people that watch the podcast on silent. They're watching it at work or something, and they'll just think that you're a numpty because they'll be reading it, going, "What? What's he on?"
Ever.
There'll also be people that listen to it that think you're a numpty. So I suppose it's not much difference.
I don't mind.
Last one.
Right. You both. What has been your biggest headache?
Day. I'm actually not very well today. I've got a sore throat and a headache, so that's been my biggest headache today. Drinking lemon and ginger with honey in.
Yeah.
It's helping a little bit, but I'm not.
I find with headaches.
So that probably didn't help.
I wouldn't. I thought some milk's not good for when you've got headaches.
Is it not?
No.
No, that's probably a mistake. That's my biggest headache today. That is my biggest headache. Is it just today though? Is that what's the question?
To date. So
to date. It wasn't my biggest.
Good ibuprofen, paracetamol.
Yeah, I'd probably say that. Does it mean property related?
I think you might.
Go on, hit us
right,
up.
Okay, my biggest headache today is having to put up with Russell Leeds every time we do this podcast. You don't understand the trauma I go through.
I think they do. They watch it every week.
No, seriously, biggest headache is just overcome. Mind, like, constantly interrupting, man.
Sorry.
My biggest headache today.
I won't interrupt again, I promise. You just go. Just you do it. You got this, man.
Is overcoming my disbeliefs and my objections in my head telling me I couldn't do what I'm doing. That's my biggest headaches.
My biggest headache is dealing with a buy, refurbish, refinance and having the value struggle. I've always sorted it in the end, but it's always been a pain in the ass.
Yeah, a lot of people underestimate that when they do buy, refurb, refinance, don't they?
Yeah.
And they're so reliant on getting the valuation that they think they're going to get.
Yeah.
Be conservative.
So thanks ever so much for tuning in. We will be back same time, same place next week. Hope you enjoyed the show. See you next week.
See you guys.